Hello everyone, how's it going? It is Theonor as always, and we're back with another top whatever list. This time we're doing the top 12 Immortals. Now, an Immortal is someone who does not die from old age or probably disease or whatever else. It is not someone who cannot be killed because pretty much everything can be killed. So that makes the list include everything from dragons to old gods to titans to titanic watchers to whatever else might be on the list. So, without further ado, here we go. Number 12 on my list is Miran, the Mecha Gnome Titan Watcher. I like him because he is pretty much the most fun immortal. He has all the funny and interesting stuff that gnomes have, while also possessing plenty of qualities of his own. I also like his descendants, his creations, the Mecha Gnomes, which are in many ways the most hardworking of the Titan constructs. There's a kind of a fun story about that actually. When Loki first went crazy, he arranged the murder of Miran only to find out that his Mecha Gnome followers saved his spirit and created a Mecha Gnome body for him. I think I can end by saying that any storyline where Miran is present is a fun and or interesting one, and he's, well, just great. Number 11 on my list is Norgannon, the magic wielder among the Titans. I like him because of his status within the Pantheon, but also because of his creations, namely Miran and Loki. In addition, I like what we know about his attitude regarding magic, which he later passed on to Malygos, meaning that he not only considers magic to be a great responsibility, but also a delight. In addition, Norgannon was also the Titan which saved the rest of the Pantheon from Sargeras' attack by sending their souls towards Azeroth. So yeah, Norgannon. Number 10 on my list is Archimonde. Archimonde could very well have been the most brutal member of the Burning Legion, the most ruthless and the most sadistic, while also being incredibly cunning. Archimonde is also one of the most iconic villains in Warcraft, from his appearance in Frozen Throne to even Warlords of Draenor. And credit where credit is due, if the whole Archimonde, demon, immortality, peril, reality thing, all of that wasn't, well, a thing, I think his appearance as the end boss of Warlords of Draenor would have been rather incredible. We saw some signs of him while questing in Draenor, being implied that he took over the conquest of the world after Kiljaeden failed, and it really would have made sense to have him as the final villain. That is to say, to have that universe's Archimonde as the final villain, not this universe's. And his entry cinematic in Hellfire Citadel, where Gul'dan summons his portal and we see Archimonde slowly being revealed, would have had a lot bigger impact if the person who saw it didn't know that Archimonde was actually the final boss. Now, without praising Warlords of Draenor too much, I still need to keep my credibility as a reliable lore source after all, I have to say that Archimonde has been great in his other portrayal in the War of the Ancients as well, where he demonstrated that he's not just a brutal commander, but a cunning one as well. So yeah, Archimonde. Number 9 on my list is Alec the Wind Lord. Alec is the weakest of the 4 elemental lords. His name also means the last in Arabic. However, I still think he is awesome. He was the most cunning of the elemental lords, he became the foremost tactician in the armies of the old gods, and I always had a liking for characters who were more brains over brawn. And his approach to battling the other elemental lords is my favorite. To quote, Alec the Wind Lord was the most cunning of them all, sending his minions to spy on his enemies and sow distrust among their ranks. He would pit the other lords against each other, only to then unleash the full fury of his servants on his weakened foes, sending lightning and cyclones to ravage the world's surface. So yeah, he might be the last, but he's still blessed. I don't know, moving on. Number 8 on my list is Sargeras, the big final bad himself. Well, kind of not anymore, but that's another thing. Now, I have to get controversial and say that Sargeras wouldn't really have made my list if it weren't for his portrayal in the Warcraft Chronicle, and I know that many people have problems with that specific portrayal. Before the Chronicle, he was just this stalwart defender of the Pantheon who slowly got corrupted over the millennia of fighting demons. but the Chronicle portrayed him in a different light as a more morally grey character. He's still the Lord of the Burning Legion, evil and all that, but his motivation is greyer. His motivation now isn't to destroy the universe because he, well, just doesn't see the point of it, but rather to stop the even bigger bad, the Void Lords, from consuming it and thus becoming more powerful. And his approach to stopping the Void Lords is pretty much the scorched earth tactic. Now, the existence and magnitude of the threat of the Void Lords is, I admit, very debatable, but I think this change to Sargeras' character is for the better. Number 7 on my list are the Naru, pretty much as a collective whole and not necessarily as individuals. I like the Naru for what they represent, the defenders of the light, its angels in the universe really, and their desire to spread hope in the universe and to stop evil. I also like the other side of the coin in regards to the Naru, that they can potentially turn into creatures of the void, pretty much the antithesis of what they stand for, and I pretty much like the entire storyline of the Naru turning into void and backwards. The Naru, also being the biggest representation of pure good in the Warcraft universe, are also part of and responsible for some of the better storylines in this universe, from the smaller story of the Crusader and Ice Crown infected with the plague, to the more important storyline of the Draenei fleeing from Argus. So yeah, the Naru. Number 6 on my list is Hakkar the Soul Flayer. Now, I've talked about him before several times, but I just love the evil god demanding sacrifices archetype. I also love trolls, so that's a nice combo. Now, as I said before, I really like the relationship the Loa have with their troll worshippers, and the fact that Loa aren't really black and white characters, but more of a origin brown mentality, so to say. I especially like Hakkar's relationship with the trolls, how he went from hope giver of the Gurubashi to tyrant to conqueror, so to say, and finally to being a tool. And I especially like Jin'do the Hexer's relationship with him, how he went from fanatical worshipper to, well, using Hakkar as a tool. And I love how Jin'do met his end. I think I can easily conclude by saying that I really want to see more of Hakkar, wherever he may be and whatever he might be doing. Number 5 on my list is Queen Azshara. I've also talked about her before, but I like her character and what she represents in the Warcraft universe. How she was this incredibly powerful and very ambitious queen, who, despite being worshipped by her people, still wanted more. I also like how vainglorious she was. For instance, she was annoyed that the Night Elves changed the name of their capital to Zin Azshari, the glory of Azshara, instead wanting to name the name to be Azshara. I love the image that she had in ancient Night Elf society, how every caste and every member of said caste revered her. Even the lowborn Night Elves thought that their queen was just being imprisoned by the Highborn when the War of the Ancients began, and not that she was the one responsible for bringing the demons to Azeroth. And I especially like that she's not just worshipped for her own sake, but that she's also an incredibly powerful magic user, being able to, at the very least, match Manoroth himself in skill. I also like the Naga and what she represents among the Naga, and what she also represents in modern Night Elf society. I'm disappointed that the Naga aren't more of a thing, really, since, well, they have the power to pretty much crush everyone in this world, but they just don't do it, and I want to see more of Azshara, not necessarily in that way. Number 4 on my list is Nozdormu, the Timeless One. I think he's the most interesting of the dragon aspects, and probably the one with the heaviest burden among them all. I like pretty much every story of the Bronze Dragonflight, and by extension of Nozdormu, and I like the various character moments he had, especially in Cataclysm and in the Twilight of the Aspects novel. What really pushed him so high on my list, though, was the Murzon moment, where it is revealed that, at some point in the future, Nozdormu will start believing that the Hour of Twilight, the victory of the old gods, is preferable to whatever fate is in store for Azeroth, and the impact this had on present Nozdormu. Nozdormu was gifted with the vision of his own death, with having knowledge of how he will perish as Murzond, which obviously unsettled him and made him lose himself in the time ways, before he realized in the Twilight of the Aspects novel that the most important thing is this particular moment and not the future. So yeah, Nosdormu is, in my opinion, the most interesting aspect, the most awesome one, and I really love his voice actor.
You crawl unwitting like a blind, writhing worm towards endless madness and despair. I have witnessed the true end time. This is a blessing you simply cannot comprehend. I can't cast that yet. You know not what you have done. Menthul, what I have... At last it has come to pass. The moment of my demise. The loop is closed. My future self will cause no more harm. Still, in time, I will fall to madness. And you, heroes, will vanquish me. The cycle will repeat. So it goes. What matters is that Azeroth did not fall. That we survived to fight another day. All that matters is this moment.
Number 3 on my list is Kil'jaeden the Deceiver. I like Kil'jaeden's story and his status among the Burning Legion, and I also like his approach to, well, doing what the Legion does best. He's a master manipulator, being in some ways responsible for pretty much many of the modern events in Warcraft, and if Archimonde is the brawn of the Legion, Kil'jaeden is definitely the brains. It's really no wonder that he was appointed by Sargeras with seeking out new races to add to the Legion. I also like his method of regarding his servants. He does not necessarily punish those who fail, as that would just scare everybody and make them not want to serve him. Instead, he tempts them with rewards, and if they fail, he gives them another chance if he thinks they were sincere in their efforts. In many ways, I think Kil'jaeden is the archetype of the devil in the Warcraft universe, always tempting mortals to do evil and actually being a more evil character than his master Sargeras is. Unlike Sargeras, there's literally nothing redeemable about Kil'jaeden, and I think it's a nice dynamic to have the more evil guy be an underling rather than the main leader. Number 2 on my list is Loken, the traitorous Titanic Watcher. I like Loken because he seems to be a, for lack of a better term, very human character. While he was originally just another loyal construct of the Titans, he became confused and lost when he felt something happen to them, and this, coupled with Yogg-Saron's continuous whisperings, led him to become more and more depressed, and he eventually had an affair with the wife of Thorim, Sif. Loken then killed Sif on accident, which caused him to panic, being too scared to tell Thorim the truth, and as such he started doing all the bad stuff that he did, since his panic at not being discovered by the Titans. His fear was exacerbated by Yogg-Saron, making him metaphorically sink more and more into this pit of evil, and he eventually murdered Watcher Miran, he turned Thorim against the Frost Giants, he banished Odin from Azeroth, he rewrote many of the facilities of Ulduar, and he did a lot more evil stuff, just in his panic to save himself, really. I think his fear of death, manipulated by Yogg-Saron obviously, which eventually turned almost to madness, makes him a very human character, so to say, again, with plenty of flaws and imperfections. And number 1 is...
The old god is laughing, toying with us.
Who will be our hope?
Who will stand and face Yogg-Saron?
Number 1 on my list is the old god Yogg-Saron. He is by far my favorite old god. I like his various manipulations in Wrath of the Lich King, And I like the various things he did while trying to escape from his prison, from the aforementioned Loken to spawning Saronite over the world, to corrupting the World Tree Vordrassil and so on. I like all of the old gods' method to manipulating immortals, namely their whispers, and I think that Yogg-Saron is the most successful one among them, given all the things he did. He's probably the best manipulator among the old gods. He is after all the god of madness and of death, and he was also responsible for the curse of flesh. He's definitely the most deadly of the old gods, with the exception of Y'Shaarj, and I like the implications that he was involved in other major storylines. And this brings us to the end of another Top Whatever list. Leave any thoughts in the comments below, and I would also like to hear if you have any favorite immortals. Other than that, I'll see you all later.